picture the scene. It is Monday morning. Specifically, it is 7:47 a.m. You are David Morrison. You are the CEO of a promising, fast-moving fintech startup in London. The coffee is brewing, but your stomach is already in knots.
The Monday morning dread. We all know it well.
Exactly. You have a client presentation, a massive one, at 9:00 a.m. This isn't just a check-in. This is a deal-breaker meeting.
We're the big one.
You open your laptop, expecting to see the final slide deck sitting there waiting in your inbox. You sent the revisions on Friday afternoon. You were clear. You were concise. You open Outlook, and nothing.
Oh, that is the moment the blood drains from your face. That cold feeling.
It gets worse. You think, okay, maybe they just forgot to hit send. You're trying to be charitable. You check Slack. Offline. Last active. Friday, 4:00 p.m.
Not a good sign.
You check WhatsApp. One gray tick. Your virtual assistant, who you hired 3 months ago from one of those massive, popular freelance marketplaces, has effectively ghosted you. No email, no work, just silence. And now you have exactly 73 minutes to build a pitch deck from scratch.
It is the Monday morning nightmare. And unfortunately for a lot of people listening, especially founders and small business owners, that scenario isn't just a hypothetical story. It's a flashback. It's a scar.
It is. And the question we are starting with today is, why is this the standard story we hear about outsourcing? Why do we just assume that hiring remote help means accepting a certain level of, chaos? Why do we accept that affordable means unreliable?
It's what the industry calls the crisis of competence. And frankly, we have been conditioned to expect it. We've been taught that if you pay less, you get less.
Okay, let's unpack that, because today we are doing a deep dive into a stack of internal documents, white papers, and training curriculums from an agency called VAConnect.
VAConnect. And they're based in South Africa.
Right. And the materials from VAConnect are fascinating because they are essentially arguing that the problem isn't the concept of a virtual assistant. The problem is the model we've been using to find them. They are suggesting that the whole gig economy approach to hiring key support staff is fundamentally broken.
And we have to talk about the cost of that nightmare scenario you just described. Because it's not just about the stress of a Monday morning or the caffeine jitters. We found a statistic in the source material that actually put a financial number on this failure.
Oh, I saw this. It made my eyes water.
A bad hire on a typical UK salary of, say, roughly £35,000 doesn't just cost you the salary.
No, not at all.
When you factor in the lost productivity, the recruitment expenses, the training time you've wasted, and the cascading effect of work left undone, like that missing presentation, potentially losing a client, you can cost a company approximately £105,000.
That is 3 times the annual salary. For a startup, that is a business-killing number.
Absolutely. So the mission of this deep dive is to explore an alternative. We are looking at how this one agency, VAConnect, is trying to engineer the perfect remote employee through a proprietary training program they call VAVarsity.
VAVarsity. It sounds a bit grand for a training course, doesn't it? A little bit academic.
It sounds grand, but when you look at the curriculum, which we will do in detail, it's actually quite rigorous, and that's the hook today. What happens when you stop treating outsourcing like a vending machine where you put in a coin and hope a worker falls out, and start treating it like a talent pipeline?
I love that distinction, vending machine versus pipeline. Okay, let's get into the landscape. Because to understand why VAConnect is different, we have to understand what they are fighting against. We called it the Wild West in our notes.
The Wild West is a fair description. I mean, think about how most people hire a VA today. You go to a site like Upwork, Fiverr, or Freelancer.com.
The speed dating model. That's what it feels like.
Precisely. You post a job description, something vague like wanted.va to handle email and calendar. And within an hour, you get 50 CVs.
Right, and they're mostly generic copy-paste responses. You can tell they haven't really read your post.
Not at all. You scan them, maybe you pick someone with a 5-star rating and a really low hourly rate, and you hope for the best. It's fast, it is cheap, and it is incredibly risky. It's purely transactional.
And the data backs that up completely. I was looking at the comparison stats in the source material. For these generic marketplace VAs, the churn rate is just shocking.
It's 68% in the first year.
Wait, say that again? 68%. That means if I hire someone today, there is a 2 in 3 chance they won't be with me this time next year. That is almost guaranteed instability.
It is. And think about why that churn happens. In that marketplace model, you aren't hiring an employee. You're renting a gig worker. They're often juggling 5, 6, maybe even 7 other clients just to make ends meet.
So they're spread thin from the start.
Incredibly thin. And if a better gig comes along that pays 50 cents more an hour, or if they just lose interest in your work, they disappear. That's why David Morrison's VA ghosted him. There is no loyalty because there is no employment relationship. There's no real connection.
It's a mercenary mindset. Highest bidder wins.
Exactly. And even if they stay, the time to productivity is painful. The sources say it takes about 6 to 8 weeks to get a marketplace VA working well.
That feels right. Because you are doing all the training, aren't you? You are the manager, the HR department, the IT support.
You are. You are the bottleneck. You are teaching them your systems, your preferences, your tools. You are recording Loom videos at midnight explaining how to use Dropbox for the 10th time. And while you are doing all of that, the accuracy is low. First draft quality for these generic VAs sits at around 64%.
So I'm redoing a third of their work anyway, which honestly is usually the point where I just say, forget it, I'll do it myself.
Which completely defeats the purpose of hiring them in the first place. Now, compare that to the data provided by VAConnect. They were founded by Karen Wessels. She started as a company called Limetree Consulting way back in 2008, and then rebranded in 2014. Her philosophy is small enough to care, big enough to guarantee quality.
That sounds like a nice marketing slogan, but do the numbers actually validate it?
They do seem to. VAConnect's churn rate isn't 68%. It has dropped to 12%.
12. Okay, that is a massive difference. That's corporate retention levels. That's stability.
It is. And the time to productivity, it's not 6 to 8 weeks. It's reduced to 2 to 3 weeks. But the stat that really stands out to me is the accuracy. First draft quality hits 87%.
Wow. Okay, so from 64 to 87%. That's the difference between work you have to fix and work you can actually use. But how? Is it just that they hire better people? Is it just a better screening process?
Well, recruitment is part of it, sure. But the source material suggests it comes down to viewing the role differently. VAConnect doesn't see this as a side hustle. They see it as a vocation, a career.
And that leads us directly to the secret sauce then, because anyone can claim they treat it like a career, but VAConnect seems to have built an entire university to prove it. Let's talk about VAVarsity.
This is really the core differentiator. If you take nothing else away from this deep dive, it's this concept. VAVarsity is their proprietary internal training platform. Karen Wessels describes it as a free, Udemy-like platform for their staff.
But I want to be skeptical here for a second. Is this just watching a few videos on how to use Microsoft Word? Because I can get that on YouTube for free. We all can.
Far from it. This is structured training that takes place before the VA ever meets a client. We're talking about 120-plus hours of curriculum.
120 hours. That's 3 full weeks of 9 to 5 work, just learning how to be a better partner before they even start billing. That's a huge investment.
A huge upfront investment. Think of it like a boot camp. And it's the content of that training that is so interesting. It's designed to transform the mindset from task taker to business partner. The curriculum covers 6 core domains. I think we should walk through these because they really explain why that accuracy stat is so high.
I agree. When I read through these domains, I thought, wait, this sounds more like a junior MBA curriculum than a secretarial course.
It does. It really does. Let's look at the first one. Business process architecture.
Okay, that sounds incredibly fancy for a VA. What does it actually mean in practice?
Well, usually you hire a VA and you hand them a standard operating procedure, an SOP, and you say, follow this. You are the architect, they are the bricklayer.
Right, do this, then this, then this.
But VAVarsity teaches them how to build the SOPs. They learn process mapping. They learn workflow optimization.
So instead of just doing the thing, they look at how the thing is done and think, is this the best way?
Exactly. Imagine you have a messy invoicing process. A generic VA will just struggle through it every month and probably make mistakes. A VAConnect VA is trained to say, hey, I noticed we are clicking these 3 buttons unnecessarily. If we create a template here and automate this step, we can save 20 minutes every time. They are identifying bottlenecks for you. That is a huge shift in value.
It's proactive versus reactive. I like that. Okay, so what's domain number 2?
Strategic communication and cultural intelligence.
This one feels really important, especially for international teams.
It is. And it's not just about spelling.
Right, because VAConnect is based in South Africa, but they are serving mostly UK and US clients. Those are very different communication styles.
Very different. And they actually teach the difference between American directness and British understatement.
Laughs. Who love that. So they learn that when a British client says, I'm a bit concerned about the timeline, they actually mean This is a 5-alarm fire and you need to fix it immediately.
Precisely. Or that when we say, that's a brave suggestion, it actually means that is the worst idea I have ever heard.
Yeah.
It is about navigating those subtle hierarchies and knowing when to be formal and when to show warmth. It removes that friction that often happens with offshoring, where things just feel slightly off.
It effectively translates the business language, not just the English language. That's key. Okay, domain number 3, technology mastery. Now, does this just mean they know how to use email and Zoom? Because the bar feels low sometimes?
It goes way beyond that. The term they use is technology integration.
Yeah.
They don't just learn that Monday.com or HubSpot exist. They learn how tools talk to each other.
Yeah.
They understand Zapier. They understand Slack automations.
Can you give me a practical example of what that looks like?
Sure. Let's say you get a new lead from a Facebook ad. A standard VA might check Facebook once a day, manually copy the name and email, and paste it into a spreadsheet.
Which is slow and prone to error. I know I'd make a typo.
Exactly. A VAVarsity grad is trained to think, how do I automate this? They might set up a Zapier trigger so that when the lead comes in, it instantly pings a Slack channel, creates a new contact in HubSpot with all the right tags, and drafts a welcome email in Gmail for you to approve.
So that is the difference between someone who types data and someone who designs a system so nobody has to type it ever again.
Correct. Then the fourth one we have is project management. And they are trained in agile methodologies.
Agile, like software developers use. We're talking stand-ups and sprints and things like that.
Stand-ups, sprints, stakeholder management, the whole framework. If you are a founder running a fast-paced business, you don't want a secretary who just waits for instructions. You want a junior operations manager who can run the daily stand-up, track the deliverables, and tell you what you need to do next.
It's managing upwards. It's helping you stay on track.
It is. And then the last two domains are marketing and sales operations and financial admin.
Which, again, seems to cover a lot of ground that you wouldn't typically associate with a VA role.
Well, the marketing part isn't just posting to Instagram. It's managing content funnels, handling social media calendars, doing basic competitor research. And financial admin covers bookkeeping basics, invoicing, and expense tracking.
So they aren't chartered accountants, but they can prepare the books for the accountant.
Exactly. They clean the data so your accountant can do the high-level work.
What stands out to you about that whole curriculum, that whole list?
I mean, it's the comprehensiveness. It sounds like they are trying to build a founder's clone, someone who understands the whole business, not just one tiny corner of it.
That is the point. The training shifts the dynamic from I am here to serve you to I am here to help you win. It is strategic. But speaking of helping us win, there is a massive elephant in the room when it comes to admin work right now.
The AI paradox.
Yes. Artificial intelligence. I was reading the section in the source material, and I found it fascinating because it addresses something we were all feeling. On one hand, everyone is using AI. Stanford's 2025 AI Index says 78% of organizations use it. But on the other hand, we all hate receiving it.
We do. We have developed a sixth sense for it. Clients can smell a ChatGPT email a mile away.
It's the uncanny valley of text. It's almost right, but just wrong enough to feel weird.
It's sterile. It's repetitive. It uses words like delve and tapestry and unleash way too much. And the sources note that Google is actually downranking purely AI-generated content now. So if you are using AI to write your blog posts or your outreach emails, you might actually be hurting your business.
So you have this tool that saves time but destroys connection. It's a real paradox. How does VAConnect handle that? Because surely they aren't ignoring AI.
No, and this is where they are smart. They are leaning into it, but in a very specific way. VAVarsity has a whole module called AI Content Humanization.
Humanization, I like that. It implies the raw output isn't human enough to start with.
It isn't. They train their VAs to be AI editors. The whole concept is human in the loop.
So the AI does the heavy lifting, the first draft,
Yeah.
but the human lands the plane. They add the nuance.
Exactly. The training involves 3 steps. First, they teach them to identify patterns. They teach the VAs to spot those transition words and sentence lengths that just scream robot. In conclusion, it is important to note kind of phrasing.
Ugh, yes. The stuff that makes your eyes glaze over instantly.
The second step is to edit for voice. They rewrite the AI drafts to match the specific client's quirks and rhythm. If the client is punchy and informal and uses a lot of slang, the email shouldn't sound like it was written by a Victorian textbook.
And the third step.
Strategic authenticity. This is the really cool part. They are trained to inject specific anecdotes or cultural references that the AI wouldn't possibly know.
Like mentioning that specific meeting you had last week or a joke you share about the weather in London. Little things that prove a human was involved.
Exactly, things that build rapport. So the takeaway here isn't to avoid AI. It is to use a human to bridge the gap between algorithmic efficiency and genuine connection. It makes the VA a human shield for your brand's reputation.
That is such a smart way to look at it. You get the speed of AI, but the warmth and authenticity of a human. Okay, so we have the training, we have the tech approach, but we need to talk about geography. Why South Africa? Why is this agency based in Cape Town and Johannesburg and not, say, Manila or Mumbai, which are more traditional outsourcing hubs?
Or just down the street in London, for that matter.
Well, down the street costs a fortune, which we will definitely get to. But compared to other outsourcing hubs, South Africa has a few geopolitical advantages that the source material highlights heavily. The first and maybe most important one is the time zone factor.
This is critical for the integrated model we talked about. If you hire from Asian markets, which are great for many things, don't get me wrong, you are often dealing with a 6 to 8 hour delay relative to the UK or Europe.
Right, so if you are in London and you need something urgently at 3 p.m., your VA in Manila might be asleep. It breaks the flow.
Exactly. You are working asynchronously. That works for data entry, but it doesn't work for a true business partner.
Yeah.
Now, South Africa's Standard Time, or SST, is only 2 hours ahead of London, GMT.
And sometimes only 1 hour, depending on daylight savings. It's basically the same working day.
And what that means practically is when London starts work at 9 a.m., Cape Town is at 11 a.m. They are already awake, they are caffeinated, they have cleared their inbox, and they are ready for you.
That caffeinated and ready line really stuck with me from the sources. It means real-time collaboration is not just possible, it's easy.
You can have a Zoom call, you can Slack back and forth until the UK end of day, which is when South Africa is finishing up around 6 p.m. It feels like they're in the next room, not the next hemisphere. The cognitive load of managing them is just so much lower.
Then there is the language aspect. Now, obviously, lots of people all over the world speak English, but the source material makes a very specific point about native-level fluency.
It's about the depth of the language, not just the vocabulary. South Africa's education system uses English as the primary medium of instruction from primary school all the way through university. It isn't a second language they learn on an app. It is how they think and learn and argue.
And the result is British spelling conventions.
Yeah.
Color with a U.
Laughs. Yes, color with a U and program with an E. But much more importantly, it is idiom and nuance. You don't get those stiff formal phrases that often signal outsourcing, like kindly revert at earliest convenience. The writing just feels natural to a UK or European ear.
It passes the Turing test, so to speak. And that ties into the third point they make, cultural affinity.
Right, the historical ties. There are shared references.
Humor, etiquette, work-life balance expectations, they align very closely with the UK and Europe. If you make a dry, sarcastic joke, they get it. If you want to talk about rugby or cricket, they are probably more obsessed than you are.
It creates a rapport that is really hard to fake. It just makes the working relationship smoother. Okay, so we have established they are well-trained and they are in the right time zone. But let's be real, even the best employee burns out. And churn is the enemy here. How does VAConnect keep these people happy? Because they claim to be small enough to care, but how do they operationalize that? This is where the agency model shines over the freelancer model. If you are a freelancer on Upwork, you are an island. If you get sick, you don't get paid. If you are stressed, you have no HR department to turn to. VAConnect has built a whole support ecosystem to prevent that kind of burnout.
They have internal programs that sound quite intense, actually, when I was reading about them.
They do. They have something called atomic energy.
Is that a nuclear physics course? What is that?
Laughs. No. It's their wellness program. It includes access to diet and exercise coaches, mental mobility programs. They are actively investing in the physical and mental health of the VAs.
That is rare even for local companies, let alone for remote staff on the other side of the world.
It's very rare. Then there is something called VAPI, pronounced VAPI. It stands for the Two-Way Happiness Program.
I like the idea of two-way happiness. Usually outsourcing is just focused on client happiness, right?
Exactly. VAPI checks in on the happiness of the client and the remote worker. It focuses on the culture of the engagement and the accountability on both sides. So if client is being abusive or constantly unreasonable, the agency actually steps in. That protection makes the VAs feel safe and loyal.
What about when they get stuck on a task? Because working remotely can be lonely. You can't just lean over the cubicle wall and ask a question.
That is the internal support network. If a VAConnect VA doesn't know how to do a specific task, maybe it's a complex Excel formula or a specific setting in HubSpot they've never seen, they don't have to go to the client and look incompetent. They ask the internal network.
Hive mind. They tap into the collective knowledge.
Exactly. They get the answer from a colleague and then deliver the perfect result to the client. The client just sees the success, not the behind-the-scenes problem solving.
And there's one more logistical thing that I think is the ultimate safety net for a business owner: the backup systems.
Institutional continuity. This is huge. If your freelance VA gets the flu or has a family emergency or their internet goes down, your work stops. Dead.
Panic stations. Everything grinds to a halt.
But at VAConnect, because they have those SOPs we talked about, the ones the VA helped build, if a VA gets sick, a backup can step in immediately. The agency has all the documentation, the work continues. It's an insurance policy for your operations.
Okay, we have to talk numbers. We have to, because this all sounds incredibly premium. Wellness coaches, university training, backup systems. This must cost a fortune, right? If I'm a small business owner, am I priced out of this?
You would think so. I mean, it sounds expensive, but let's look at the financial breakdown provided in the sources. It's actually quite surprising.
Lay it on me. Let's do the comparison.
Okay, let's start with hiring a UK executive assistant. If you hire locally in London, you are looking at a base salary of roughly, say, £32,000 to £45,000. But that's not the real cost.
No, that's just the sticker price. That's just the number on the payslip.
Right. You have to add national insurance, pension contributions, office space, equipment, sick leave, holiday pay.
The loaded cost.
Exactly. The source puts the total first-year cost for a UK hire somewhere between £43,000 and £61,000.
Ouch. That is a heavy lift for a small business.
It's huge. Now, compare that to a generic marketplace VA. The hourly rate is lower, maybe £15 to £25. But when you factor in that 68% churn rate we discussed, the retraining time, the recruitment fees, the effective annual cost is estimated to be between £22,000 and £35,000.
And for that price, you are getting lower quality work and a whole lot of stress and uncertainty.
Precisely. Now look at a VAConnect graduate. The annual cost ranges from £14,400 to £28,800, depending on the seniority and the number of hours.
Okay, so it is significantly cheaper than the marketplace option once you factor in the true cost of chaos, and it's vastly cheaper, like 60 or 70% cheaper than hiring locally.
Roughly 60 to 70% less than a UK hire. And there is a currency note here that is important to understand why this works so well.
Regarding the rand, the South African currency.
Yes. For the VAs in South Africa, earning competitive rates, say for instance a package worth 12,000 Rand, or more packages that are priced in pounds but converted to local currency, creates a highly desirable career path.
So let's break that down. A number like 12,000 Rand might not mean much to someone in the UK, but what does that mean in terms of purchasing power in South Africa?
It means a very comfortable, professional, middle-class lifestyle, because the cost of living in South Africa is so much lower than in London or Manchester. A salary that looks affordable to a UK company is actually a premium salary in Cape Town or Johannesburg.
It's geographic arbitrage, but in a way that feels like everyone wins. The client saves a lot of money, and the VA earns a great living and has a stable career.
Exactly. It's not exploitation. It's economic efficiency. And VAConnect has structured this into packages that allow for scaling. They call it the growth ladder.
I saw this. It's like a roadmap for how a small business can grow with their support. Walk us through it.
Sure. So, year one, you are a solo founder, you are drowning in admin, you hire a general VA. They just handle the noise email, calendar, travel arrangements.
Survival mode, just getting your head above water.
Year two, you have grown a bit. Now, you need to push the brand out there. You add a marketing specialist VA. They handle the social media, content schedules, newsletters.
In year three,
You add a sales VA. They handle CRM hygiene, lead qualification, appointment setting, follow-ups.
so over 3 years, you've essentially built a small operations department.
You've built a department for less than the cost of one junior local employee. The sources mention specific packages. There is the Forge, that's 40 hours a month. The Summit is 60 hours. And the Apex is 100 hours a month.
100 hours a month is a serious amount of work. That is basically a senior part-time employee running your life.
It is. And for a founder who is used to doing everything themselves, that is utterly transformational.
Well, let's see if it actually works in the real world. We can talk theory and numbers all day, but I want to see results. We have some case studies here from the source material. Real businesses, real results.
The proof of concept. Let's start with a company called Tech Forward Consulting in London.
Okay. What was their pain point? What was the problem?
The founder was spending 25 hours a week on proposals. Just the paperwork. Formatting Word docs, pasting in case studies, chasing signatures.
That is insane. If you are the CEO, your hourly rate should be hundreds of pounds. You shouldn't be formatting fonts. That's a huge waste.
Exactly. And their revenue was stuck at £780,000. They had hit a ceiling because the founder had no time left to actually sell or be strategic.
So what did they do?
They hired an executive VA with project management skills from VAConnect. The VA took over the entire proposal process from start to finish. They built templates, they managed the submission deadlines, they owned it.
And the result?
Revenue hit £1.4 million.
Yeah.
That is 79% growth in 1 year.
Just because the founder wasn't formatting documents anymore. That's incredible.
It is. The founder's admin time dropped from 25 hours a week to just 8. They calculated the ROI on their investment in the VA at 2,153%.
That is an absurd number, but it makes sense. If you unlock the CEO's time, the value you create is exponential. Okay, who's next?
Greenleaf Properties in Manchester. Property management is just chaos, tenants calling, maintenance issues, keys, gas safety
A
certificates.
constant logistical nightmare.
They were drowning in it. They hired 2 VAs, 1 general admin VA and 1 sales and operations VA. The result? Their portfolio grew from 85 to 142 properties without hiring any local staff in Manchester.
Wow. So they scaled the business by almost double without increasing their physical overheads at all.
Not at all. And their response times to tenants dropped from 48 hours to just 12 hours. So tenant satisfaction went up because someone was actually replying to their emails promptly.
And the last one was Innovate Digital in Bristol.
Yep, a marketing agency. Their problem was internal. They were missing deadlines constantly. Their on-time delivery rate was at 73%. Clients were getting unhappy.
That's the Wild West chaos creeping in and damaging their reputation.
It was. They brought in a VAConnect marketing VA to basically act as a project traffic manager. The result? On-time delivery went up from 73% to 97%.
So it saved their reputation and likely a lot of their clients?
It did.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate now. I have to.
Yeah.
Because this sounds too perfect. Revenue doubled. Happiness achieved. Is VAConnect the perfect solution for everyone? Surely there are times when this model doesn't work.
Absolutely not. And to their credit, the source material includes a whole section called the counter narrative. There are very clear limitations in situations where this is the wrong choice.
Okay, so when should you not use VAConnect? What are the red flags?
First, and this sounds obvious, but people forget, physical presence. If you need someone to file physical paper, to sign for a package from FedEx, or to make coffee in the London office, a remote VA in Cape Town cannot do that.
Fair enough. Teleportation isn't a feature yet. What's number 2?
Second, hyper-specialization. These VAs are competent professionals, but they are either generalists or functional specialists in areas like marketing or ops. If you need a data scientist to build a machine learning model or a CFO to restructure your corporate debt, that is not this role.
Right. Don't hire a VA to be your chief financial officer. That's a recipe for disaster and probably jail.
Third, and this is a big one for founders, chaos lovers.
Chaos lovers. What do you mean by that?
This whole system relies on SOPs and process. It thrives on structure. If a founder hates systems, if they thrive on chaos, change their mind every 5 minutes and refuse to document anything, they will feel constrained by a professional VA. They will break the system.
Right. If you want to change your mind every 5 minutes and never write anything down, this isn't for you. You need a mind reader, not a VA.
Exactly. And that leads to the final point, lack of clarity. The VAs are trained to be proactive, but they aren't magicians. If you, the business owner, don't know what you want, you can't delegate it effectively.
You have to be ready to lead. You can't just dump a mess on someone's virtual desk and run away.
Correct. You need to have some idea of your destination before you can ask someone to help you navigate.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's just summarize what we've learned. This isn't just about hiring a helper on the cheap. It feels like a fundamental shift in business logic.
It is. It's a shift from outsourcing tasks to sourcing talent. It is about realizing that geography is becoming less relevant than competency. The talent is out there, it's just not always in your postcode.
And the market is clearly moving this way.
It is. The virtual assistant market is estimated to reach, what was it, $4.3 billion by 2030. That is a massive trajectory. This is becoming mainstream.
So here is the final provocative thought for everyone listening. We spend so much time worrying about the future of work. We worry about AI replacing humans. We worry about the economy.
We do. There's a lot of anxiety out there.
But the VAConnect model suggests a different future. A more optimistic one, maybe. One where humans master the AI, not get replaced by it. One where a small business in Manchester can have a world-class operations team in Johannesburg, and both sides benefit enormously.
It connects the dots between talent and opportunity, regardless of borders.
So the question this deep dive leaves us with isn't, can I afford to outsource? I think the real question is, can I afford to keep doing administrative work that prevents me from being strategic?
If your hourly rate as a founder should be, say, £100, and you are spending half your day doing £15 an hour work,
Yeah.
you are losing money every single time you touch your keyboard.
And on that note, we will leave you to check your inbox, and hopefully for you, it's not empty. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
See you next time.